and my fellow comrades from the government, and all the guests of the floor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For today's debate, the motion for this debate is that this House regrets the trend of making villains as sympathetic characters in film and media. So, before we move on to the argument and my key split, I want to define the motion and to give a simple idea of what this motion means. Okay, firstly, about the what are villains, right? The villains are in a movie or a film or in media. It is a character whose evil actions or motives are important for the plot, right? If they do not have these actions or what are their motives are not clear in the movie will lose its antagonist side, which is a big part of the movie itself. So move on to the what is meant by sympathetic characters. Right? Sympathetic characters are people who we as an audience or as the normal people that watch the movie or the media will want to give our we want to be sympathetic towards the characters which have traumatic or tragic past. And how do we show this? Is doing in expressing in our conversation between our friends or expressing it on the social media. Right? So and I want to express. I want to ascend the power of film and media in our generation, because we as we live in the 20th as we live in the modern era where social media acts as a powerful tool for us to portray our emotions and the next generation or the younger generation of this era will be more focused on watching content from this media rather than reading books. So, if I want to explain, I want to say the urgency of this of the issue is that because when we express the villains as sympathetic characters, like we will plant the seed of thought in the younger generation or in the younger generation, especially the most important part is that they are the younger generation, and we will plant the seed of thought that doing villainy can be just justified by the tragic past. And why? Just making the villains as to be sympathetic characters are just a strategy used by the filmmaking companies so that they can earn more money from the views of the film. Moving on to the government's key split. I as the Prime Minister, I will show my first argument, which is that by giving the villains a sympathetic character or background, it will make the audience to be more caring or to look the villainy in the other way, and and by doing this, the villainy can be justified by the tragic past, because the audience will see that, oh, this character like the Joker, right? The Joker have a mental issue, and he had a very bad past about his parents. His mom died. He's just a loner who has grown up and been treated bad by the society, and lastly committed crime because he had been done badly. So he wants to just enjoy the life by doing extreme actions such as villainy and backmobbing and causing chaos all over the city of Gotham. Gotham. So what I want to what I want to point out is that by doing this, right, it what you want in a real life, because this will slowly impact the minds of the viewers, right? Slowly they will become more sympathetic if the villains who have had committed crimes to become more. It's not acceptable, but it will be more. They will be taking more of their side of their side, because they had just had a traumatic past, like having a traumatic past, or being treated bad by the society can be is a past, so that they can uh, do this the crimes that they have done in the in uh, in uh, in the movies. And this teaches the younger generation that that uh, by having a traumatic past or being treated badly by others a reason a short a past that you can treat others badly also, and not being and not portraying the right morals of life. So I would want to end my speech by giving the stance by the government. The government believes that the portrayal of villains as sympathetic characters in film and media, especially, will jeopardize the minds of the developing teenagers or even any viewers of the film and media. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the Prime Minister for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 8 seconds. Now, I would like to call upon Leader of Opposition to deliver her speech. The floor is yours. I would like to call upon Leader of Opposition to deliver her speech.
Sorry for taking long time. Oh. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, you are audible.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to all the educators and members of the floor. Today we from the government, we from the opposition team disagree with the motion that this house regrets the trend of making villains sympathetic characters in film and media, as example, Joker, Maleficent, and so on. With the sense that sympathetic characters is one of the elements that can give a great remark in the movie of the industry. So from the Prime Minister has stated the definition of sympathetic characters in which I would want to oppose. From my view, sympathetic characters is a fictional characters whom the writer expect the reader to identify with and care about. And this sympathetic character is the one who is likable or who evokes feeling of sympathy from the audience. So the Prime Minister has said that the point brought by the Prime Minister is that the power of film and media. So which I would like to rebut. If we the Prime Minister said that if we meet the villain, we create a sympathetic side to the villain. It's like we justify the bad acts that the villain do itself, but so that they can like covering out what the bad things they're doing. So I think that even it's not that they want to covering out their bad things, but actually that kind of side stories, that kind of sympathetic side is actually to give the villain character some depth in the story structure itself, because if the villain have the even if the villain have the sympathetic side, but they are still the villain. They are still yes. Please.
You say that we want to be sympathize with this villain because we want to give in-depth story of this villain, right? Why not give other character? Why sympathy? Why sympathy them?
Because one of the scientists from the University of Southern California, he said that the human brain feels more empathy with the side stories that implies the empathy side, because when we watching the villains suffer, it can activate the parts of the brain that involve in the empathy far more than any side stories. I hope that. No, please. Okay. When the villain have the sympathetic side, it doesn't mean they will going to steal the hero spotlight, because in the end the villain itself will be the second main character, not the main character, because the main character is the hero itself. Also, what I mean by sympathetic side could give the villain character more depth is that it's some kind of fashion to have the set origin to make the audience, to make the watchers to become more relatable, because as if even the kid itself, they could relate with this kind of side stories. Also, so I also think that by implementing this kind of sympathetic characters in film and media could develop sympathetic side to the youngsters, because the Prime Minister said that if when we viralize the movie itself, as example
Well, Joy,
no please, example, if we I'm going to give example the Squid Game series. The developer of the developer of the game itself, the old man, he developed the game because he wants to because the game reminds of his child. So I think that we as I as the audience itself, I think that when I saw that old man, when I know that the old man is the developer itself, I feel like I hated him. I don't like him. But when I knew that why he doing that, why he be doing that, because it could give a good impression for himself also. So I think that by that kind of sympathetic side, it could develop sympathetic side to the youngsters. So here I would like to state that we from the opposition team disagree with the motion, with the sense of sympathetic characters is one of the elements that can give a great remark in the movie of the industry. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to the Leader of Opposition for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Now I would like to call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to deliver his speech. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Okay, so I will start in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you for all the adjudicators, the chairperson and timekeepers, and also my fellow debaters. Okay, so first of all, I would like to remind the stance of our debate. The stance of the government is the portrayal of villain as sympathetic characters will encourage crime, rebellious act, and jeopardization of mental health. Okay, so first I want to rebut the points that were given by the leader of opposition, because somehow I think the leader of opposition was not understanding the motion pretty well. So the example that was given by her was pretty not sustainable for our case. Okay, so she said that she said that by making the villain sympathetic, it will make the youngster to be more sympathized. Well, if they are sympathized, does that allow them to become villain? It shows that you are saying the example of you are saying that to make the crime justified, to make children be sympathized and to become a villain themselves. Okay, so you're just encouraging crime. What are you talking about? Okay, so that is pretty disappointing for me as a debater myself. And you even give this example of the old man in Squid Game reminds himself of his childhood. Is his childhood tragic? Is his childhood traumatic? No, it is just his childhood. He was just playing game, and he was just diminishing himself of his past. So does that allow him to process through a terrible massacre of people by just playing games? What your sense of example is truly doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm moving on to my own points. So my first point, or the second point from the government, is the portrayal of sympathetic and why we my second point is through the motion of why the House would regret the trend of making villain sympathetic characters in film and media. And my first point is the power of film and media to audience somehow to audience by portraying the villain as sympathetic characters somehow gives a certain bad portrayal of the good characters in the movie. It which is supposed to be to show some good manners, good attitudes, and also to show the good side of the movie. Whereas like in the movie of La Casa de Papel, Money Heist, and the Joker, well, it shows that policemen are the bad people when they should be the protector of humankind. They should be the protector of the law enforcement. So why are they being portrayed as the bad guys? Okay, so that's my so that is confusing. That should be confusing the children. That will be confusing the audience, especially the children. That because they portrayed that what Joker do, killing people, killing the policemen, fighting the policemen, are true act, are justified act. So that is terribly wrong. Okay, so for my next point is, well, the house also thinks that movie production and okay, so you said whereas instead of making villains sympathetic characters, why not villain? The house agrees. The government think that villains should have a different stereotype to them. They just want villains should be described as someone who wants to be powerful. They just want to be evil. They just want to suppress people. They just want to murder people, and they just want to do crime. It is natural born with them. As an example, Voldemort. Well, Aunt Voldemort is somewhat a loved character in the Harry Potter series. Voldemort, it is a bad villain that has an example of not being sympathetic at all. We could not sympathize with Voldemort because he has only the lust of power to become immortal. By having that aim, he killed people. So that should be that is a portrayal of a bad character, and that should be that is why we shouldn't be sympathetic with them, and but somehow people still love them. People still love the villain. Okay, so sorry. Next, what? Okay. My next point is by making villains sympathetic characters in film, it is purely in the social media. I'm sorry. It is just a point of making money making strategy, because it is not art at all. It is not a good sense of making art, because of the tragic past card is be given to the villain. Especially when we see that Joker, the movie Joker, comes from the movie Batman. So so why shouldn't we give the tragic past card to Batman? Batman also have his own tragic past, whereas their parents died. Well, so why do we say that? Why do we say about Batman? It's because the tragic past card that the audience has cotted to is given to the wrong person. It should be given to the Batman, not the Joker. This because the Joker is the villain, and somehow because of the audience portraying Joker as unjustified, just as you have said earlier, to give some great remarks, and they just make another film. Okay, so that is their money-making strategy, whereas the side effects are truest. And allow me to repeat my stance. The government believe that portrayal of villains as sympathetic characters will only encourage crime, rebellious act, and jeopardization of mental health. Okay, so because of all my reasons, I seriously believe, and seriously I want to empower my stance again, that that it is true that we should not, and we regret the trend of making villains sympathetic characters in film and media. Okay, with that, I raise my speech.
Thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Now I'd like to call upon Deputy Leader of Opposition to give her speech. The floor is yours.
I will start my in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, here you need to know what is the purpose of the movie itself. First thing first, it's one of the entertainment source that are used in order to tell a different story about different people that might have here in the real world. Before I proceed to my points, I would like to rebut some of the point given by the Deputy Prime Minister. First thing first, he stated that by portraying the sad backstory that make the audience sympathy to the villain itself, it will confuse the audience, and one of the audience is the children itself. First, that's why the entertainment industry, the film industry, already have rating on on the age of which children, or either it can be watched by the children or not. If they happen to watch it, that's the one who the parents or the one who give them the permission to watch it. They are the one who need to be blamed. So this is not focused on the emotional stuff, because we need to know, are we regretting portraying it or not? Because we besides thinking about whether it will help, whether will plant the seed of justify the bad things that made by the villains, they also need to know how to make the story more interesting. And they already have the targeted audience, ladies and gentlemen. So if the people who are not the one who watch it, it's not the film industry itself blame. The one who give the permission to the children, or the one who are not the children itself, are need to be blamed. Secondly, he also stated that why don't we give the tragic story to the hero itself? You need to know some of the story have the hero have their own tragic, but here we want to portray whether is the tragic past of the villain itself, are the villain are going to make it happy at the end of the day? No, they also suffer at the end of the day, which show and portray how this kind, even though they have this tragic past at the first place, they are not going to have a very good ending at the end. So before I moving on to my point, I would like to reaffirm our stand from the opposition side, that this sympathetic character of the villains is one of the elements that can give a great remark in the movie, and it's not and their action is not be justified, ladies and gentlemen. So my first point for this, my first point is that the reason why we are not regret to create this sympathetic villain character, because the audience can link with them. Here, link mean they know that yes, this kind of tragic past is happened here in the real world, but it happened in the real world. It shows that not all people are live in a very good life, and but in movie they show how these people who have the bad and tragic past show their attitude, their bad attitude based on the story. So when we say that we can link, if the audience itself is one of the I'm sorry. So if the audience itself can link with the character and they did not make any crime at the first place, they can already see. If they only have a thought on doing that, they can see how bad they will have the ending, ladies and gentlemen. So, so this show that this make them have a different perspective on how any things that come to their thoughts on having a bad thought, so they can reject it at the first place and keep on making the things that keep on making their tragic past of the audience itself. They can have a different life. Secondly, we can say that our second point is we can give equal fame to the both character if the story have the hero at the first place. So here we need to know that this villain, not all the villain is the main character here. So, and also we also need to know that some hero, as you stated before, some hero also have this sympathetic tragic backstory too. So by giving more deeper storyline to the villain itself, it can show how both of them show encounter and bear with the tragic past with a different kind of things to do. Like the hero will stay with the tragic past. It will stay become a good guy, and the villain, even though with a tragic past, they still become the bad person. This equal fame is also help the villain like to give more. It also help the villain to have the recognition that they need to have. Yes, we don't want the audience to recognize how and justify the bad things that the villain do. But you need to know, by the end of the story, it shows how this kind of bad things that they do will lead to make themselves go down to a failure, and they will not be safe at the end of the day. So I don't think that is a problem to still, there's no problem, and we should not regret by making this kind of thing, because you need to also reconsider about all the good things that show if this sympathetic character are villains are there in the movie. So with that, I beg to oppose.
Thank you to the Deputy Leader of Opposition for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 20 seconds. And now I would like to call upon Komarabi to deliver his speech. The floor is yours.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum and a very pleasant morning. I bid to experienced panels of adjudicators, meticulous timekeeper, formidable opponents on the opposition side, allies on side of government and everybody present in this meeting today. So here's how I'm going to structure my speech today, okay? Firstly, I'll clarify the context of today's debate and provide rebuttals to the argumentation brought by the other side of this house, which is the opposition side. Secondly, I'll compare both cases brought by both sides of the house, and I tell you why we as the government understand today's debate better. Lastly, I'll show you the outcome of today's debate and reaffirm our stand as government. Okay, so firstly, clarifications and rebuttals. So before I move on with the rebuttals, I want to the opposition side to understand that there are two main stakeholders that we are concerning now, which is film, and the first stakeholder is film and media. Second one is audience with different background, children, teenagers, adult, even the senior citizens. Okay, so what the government is trying to bring to you today is the trend of sympathizing with the villain is one way of the media to only gain profit for them and not actually concerning the mental health of the audience, which might be in jeopardy. So what I can see here from the opposition side, they only concern about the profit that the film and media can make, other than and not even concerning about what would happen, how the message is going to be portrayed, how the message is going to get across to the audience. Okay, so firstly I'll rebut. Okay, so why my prime minister already mentioned, why the deputy prime minister, why we all from the government side regret these trends of making villain as a sympathetic character, right? Because we believe that portrayal of villains as sympathetic character is a ticket for the audience, especially immature audience, to become a villain in their own stories. So the impact will last to audience, ladies and gentlemen, not the filmmaker. So sympathizing with someone, we only sympathizing with the villain, will make a second guess the action that they have already committed. So in real life, will you actually sympathize with a serial killer that has killed the mothers, fathers, brothers, sister, and even lovers of other people? In real life, if you see a serial killer being portrayed in the newspaper, for example, will you actually rationalize their crime just because they have a tragic past haunting them? Okay, so in real life, whether or not a person become a villain is not is arbitrary. Okay, we cannot determine why they become villain in real life, why they become a criminal in real life. We cannot tell how can their past affect them in the present day. But today's, ladies and gentlemen, the power of media has a powerful influence. Okay, they can jeopardize with the audience perception of true villains in real life. In fact, the portrayal of sympathetic character which is the villain, will only further nurture the action of criminals hidden inside. So so a pinch of emotion should not stray your view, ladies and gentlemen, toward their bad doings. So the opposition side is trying to bring to you today is that they want to profit. They want to cater more to the filmmaker needs rather than the audience. The filmmaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a powerful authority that can actually do something to they can actually do something so that the film industry would portray bad or good things, right? So while they are that if you guys understand why we regretting this trend so much, is because we think that the filmmaker is actually trying to capitalize the profit by at the point where you allow filmmaker or this superior authority over film industry to capitalize money through mental health. That point is where you would jeopardize the mental health of the audience. So next, moving on to the clashes of point. So coming from the argumentation for the government side, my prime minister has said that it is the issue of rationalizing crime versus sympathizing at the wrong person, nurturing of sympathy in audience which come from the opposition side. So here we can see how much of a difference the opposition team has seen this impact of filmmaking. The government believe that by sympathizing with villain, this would only this would give a pass, a golden ticket to all the audience of coming from all background to rationalize with the crime. But the opposition say that they want to make the villain as a sympathetic character in the movie because they want to sympathize, because they want to nurture a sense of sympathy in the audience. Why not make as I have already one of their ministers just now, why not we give some other good attributions? Why not we give this sense of nurturing sympathy to the heroes of the movie instead of the villain, right? So next, clashes of point is coming from the government is influence of power, influence of media and film equal to the in comparison to the opposition side, which said that people in real life can relate more to what the villain is going through. It is undeniable that there are people in this real life that can actually relate to villain story, but then again, like I said before, it is not it is up to person, it is up to in real life it is up to arbitrary reasons, right? People would be bad regardless of their regardless of any reason that they have, but the power of media itself can actually influence this audience to become this will actually jeopardize the perception of villains in real life. Okay, so last argumentation by the government is villains should be portrayed with different stereotype, and but coming from the opposition is they want to have great remark. They want the villain and the hero to have equal fame. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not important in this case. So let me tell you what's the outcome of this today's debate. Okay, so if the government wins today, we would actually cater more to the mental health of audience. We actually care more of the message that is perceived by the audience rather than the money makers, which is the film industry authority. Okay, so if the opposition wins today, we can see the increased trending of people becoming villain by becoming villain because they want to rationalize their crime, right? So I'll reaffirm our stance today, which is the government believe that the portrayal of villain as a sympathetic character will only encourage crime, rebellious act, and jeopardization of mental health among the audience. Thank you. With that, I write my case.
Assalamualaikum guys. Hello.
Hello.
Can we pause for like 3 minutes? I need to go to the men's room. Really quick.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, guys, I'm done.
Thank you to the government whip for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 52 seconds. Now I'd like to call for the opposition whip to deliver her speech. The floor is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Right. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning to good morning to adjudicators and also members of the floor. Today, this motion, we as the opposition side believe that oppose the motion, which is this house regret the trend of making villains sympathetic characters in films and media. Before I start my rebuttals and also my summary recap of my opposition team, I would like to state our stance, which is sympathetic characterization is one of the elements that can give a great remarks in the movie of the industry. Okay, and then I would like to rebut some of the points from the government teams. The first one is when he said that the justified Joker mental issue enjoy the life extreme age action, and it will actually slowly impact the mind of the viewers, and they could actually taking their sides, which actually improves them to become a bad behaviors. Basically, what we're trying to highlight is we also disagree with the bad behaviors, but everything that happened, they have a reason why the bad behavior happened. And when we have a backstory of this, we can actually know why do the villain actually acting like this, or else we don't really understand the storyline of it. And then seed of thought, this with this tragic of explanation of backstory of the villain with the dark storyline, it can actually make the story become more interesting and people will actually understand better of that movie. Thank you. And at the end of the day, people already recognize that this is the villain, and people know that the villain always have the last scene of the villain always that they were in the jail or something like that. And another next, moving on to my next rebuttal, when she said is
POI.
no, thank you, not yet. And then when she said that the power of the film that it can portray a bad portrayal and show the government said that we should show a good manners and good side of the movie, such as money heist, protector of the law, and enforcement. That is true. We should actually portray a good manners to the public so that the public know. But when she said that the children were actually exposed to this film like money heist or the Squid Game, it is not good for the children. And when my deputy leader of opposition said that the parent itself should control the children whether they should watch this thing or they shouldn't. They have to control the children because it is not the movie. It is not because of the movie itself. And also the children need to actually exposed, even though not yet, please, not exposed to this world. That is true. The parents should actually control, but the children itself, in my opinion, they actually need to be exposed to the cruel world, and we need to expose the movie to the targeted audience. That's why there's not yet, please. That's why there's a filters of movie that says that it's only for 13 above or 14 above. All right. Okay. And then and this will actually expose the expose the children to the cruel world so that they understand better about the world truly is. Or if we keep on, not yet, please. If we keep on giving them good things, they keep on seeing just a good thing. They don't even know about the thing that are actually ongoing to us. They will not know what will happen. And then the next of my rebuttal. Yes, please.
Okay, so did you said that we should tell the children about the cruel world. So it's my point about the villains. You have a different stereotype that they are actually bad, natural born bad is better in proving that.
Thank you for asking. The villain is not having a better. When we have a villain, it actually make the storyline become interesting, and so that the people will actually understand the storyline better. It did not even give the spotlight to the villain. It actually gives more spotlight to the hero itself, so that the people know, oh, who's the good side, who's the bad side. People actually can rationalize, and they can understand. They can choose which one is better. And then moving on to my next rebuttal, that when we the Deputy Prime Minister said that if they want to make the story about the villain, they should make they wanted to empower. I'm sorry. When he said that it actually become the ticket for the audience to become a bad person. Actually, it actually could influence a person, but though it depends on that person whether they can actually, like I said before, people are rationalized and they can think what is the good for them, what's the bad for them. So when the audience actually watch this thing, they can think this thing is actually good for me or this thing is actually bad for me. About the mental health, at the end of the story, they usually stated what will happen next to the character itself, to the villain itself, whether they will end up in the jail or they will end up healing, or it didn't end like the not yet, please. Next, I would like to recap some of the points from our opposition team. The first one is to give a depth of to the storyline. When we actually have the sympathetic characters in film and of the villain itself in the film and media, we can actually understand the story better, and we can actually understand what's the storyline about. And then the next one is it can give the audience link. It can actually make the audience link with the bad behavior that we portray. Maybe they can actually give they can actually relate with themselves, and they can actually improve to another person. Maybe like they understand, oh, this thing is actually a bad thing, so they can actually improve themselves to become a better person next. And then it actually and then to have a sympathetic characters, they could actually give an equal fame to the both character, because every single story that being produced, they don't even explain briefly what about the villain is. They always explain about the hero. Even though they actually pressured on only about the hero, they also need to give equal rights to the villain character itself. With that, I end my speech. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the opposition whip for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 17 seconds. Now, both of the government and opposition are being given 1 minute to prepare the reply speech.
Let's welcome the speaker from the government side to give
The time is up. I call upon the speaker from the opposition side to deliver the reply speech. The floor is yours.
Start my speech in 3, 2, 1. We from the opposition team strongly disagree with the motion that this house regret the trend of making villain sympathetic characters in film and media with a sense of sympathetic characters is one of the elements that can give a great remark in the movie of the industry. Okay. First of all, I would use the example given by the motion itself. It is a Joker and Maleficent. Although Joker and Maleficent is the main character of their movie itself, but they at the end they become the villain. They don't become the heroes. Because even they portray some bad acts, some bad behavior, but they still being the spotlight. They still being the main characters of the movie itself. People also still call them as the bad examples. Also, I would like to use the example such as given by the government team, which is the Voldemort. Voldemort is the character that have a sad stories, but still there's no people end up siding with the Voldemort. People hated him, and people doesn't even want to buy merch that portrays the character itself. So here's I would like to recap the points from the opposition teams. The first one is by having the sympathetic character, it would give the villain some depth in the story structure, as it would give a more understandable storyline to the audience. And the second one is targeted audience relates with how the movie is being produced. Is that we already, such as the deputy leader of the opposition said that by having the targeted audience related with how the movie will be produced, is that the audience can think of the movie itself, and also they could see and take the moral example. If they don't do any crime and they see the consequences of doing that crime, so they will not doing it. And the third one is the equality of the heroes and the villain. so that by having that, both parties, both villain and the heroes would gain would gain equal famous would gain equal fame. So here I would like to restate the stance for our team is that we strongly disagree with the motion, as sympathetic character is one of the element that can give a great remark in the movie of the performance.
Now, to conclude, let's call the speakers from the government side to give the reply speech.
Okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay. For the reply speech from the government is that firstly we want to point out the flaws coming from the opposition side. So firstly, I want to state that the opposition side value more about the profit that these powerful people make rather than the message perceived by the audience. That's the first thing. And second thing is that the opposition side only care is caring more about the storyline of the movie itself and not the message perceived by the audience in the end of the day. And that thirdly, we need to remind ourselves what are the stakeholders of this debate. Is that firstly is that the main stakeholders are the audiences and the filmmakers themselves. But for the third point from the opposition about equal fame about between the villain and the hero. I can see how what relation does this have with the audiences, and if the audiences are more I'll stop at that. Equal fame between the heroes and the villains does not cater towards the stakeholders, which is especially the audiences. So I also want to point out the flaw that they agree with our points that the bad portrayal of good sides which came from this movie themselves, like the Joker, it shows or portrays the good sides being bad towards a person such as that like law enforcement people who do bad in the Joker. Okay. Moving on, I will want to explain why the government side win on this debate is that we cater more for the content that will be exposed or perceived by the younger generation, that in the end of the day will be set in their mind or will leave a picture in their mind that when they see a criminal, when they see the criminal in whichever case or in the news or in real life, but in the day of the judgment of the criminal, if they have tell a story of their bad past, there will be sympathizing with the villains who had committed crimes and that done bad things towards other people's family and loved ones. And we want to prevent the rationalizing of this crime and chaos caused by the villains, which and we want to prevent. I want to restate my point is that we want to prevent the rationalizing of this crime. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition failed to engage with us about our burden of proof, is which is the we want to prove that by creating this trend will only make rationalizing crime to occur in the minds of the younger generation. Lastly, I want to end my speech by giving the stance from the government side, because the government side sees the trend of making villains as a sympathetic characters in film and media as an opportunity to encourage crime and villainy that will jeopardize the minds of the developing teenagers. That's all from me.
That is all for this round debate season. On behalf of the House, I thank the educator for the assistance. I congratulate all the debaters on their performance. Now, the host will assign all the educators to the breakout room to discuss. While the debater, please remain in this room in the meantime.
Excuse me, can I have the Pusat Tamhidi, everyone to write their role and name in the chat box? We couldn't catch before we leave. Thank you.